Welcome back to Klepper's Corner, the only place where we try to explain a world spiraling out of control while maintaining just enough composure to avoid panic screaming into the camera. It's July 5th, 2025, and today we're looking at international ceasefires that come with daily explosions, political parties founded by billionaires who think memes count as campaign platforms, and floods that were apparently too fast for meteorologists, but not fast enough to dodge Texas politics. So grab your bug-out bag and your Elon Musk decoder ring, because we've got a hell of a show. Segment 1, Ceasefires and Airstrikes, Gaza edition. Israel and Hamas are in the middle of ceasefire negotiations that can best be described as a very violent group therapy session. Hamas gave a positive response to a 60-day truce, which in this context means, sure, we'll pause the war, but only if we get a full refund and a pony. Meanwhile, Netanyahu isn't very clear. He wants the ceasefire to end with Hamas being turned into a cautionary tale. President Trump, ever the peacemaker, has invited Netanyahu to the White House next week, possibly to sign a deal or maybe just to compare border walls. But while leaders played diplomacy, the live-action role-playing game, the reality on the ground is a nightmare. On July 5th, 14 Palestinians died in Israeli airstrikes. Another 10 died trying to get food aid. That means the war's got two modes, combat and Hunger Games. The GHF, that's the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, not to be confused with the Hunger Games franchise, is supposedly handing out aid. But it's also backed by the U.S. and Israel, widely rejected by the UN, and allegedly being used as a tool of political leverage. You know your aid group is failing when getting a loaf of bread feels like playing Minesweeper with your body. To recap, we're holding peace talks while conducting airstrikes, handing out food that no one trusts, and killing people who dare to eat it. It's like trying to save a house on fire by throwing bricks at it and shouting, ceasefire. Segment 2, Russia goes full drone mode. Russia just launched the biggest drone and missile assault of the war, because nothing says peace talk like 500 drones and 11 missiles at your capital city. This is the Russian version of a housewarming gift. Lots of noise, fire, and one dead civilian. Even the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant lost power, which, in case you forgot, is the nuclear plant, as in the one place you absolutely don't want to involve in missile shenanigans. Trump spoke with Putin and later told the press that Putin, quote, just wants to keep killing people, which is rich coming from a guy who once proposed nuking hurricanes. Meanwhile, Zelensky had a more optimistic take on his Trump call, describing it as his, quote, best and most productive conversation. So either Trump is playing both sides or he just really enjoys conference calls where he gets to be the center square. Ukraine, on the other hand, is handling business. They downed more than half of Russia's drones and bombed a Russian airfield. Also, Russia allegedly tried to recruit Laos into this mess. Yes, Laos. Because when your war plan involves countries that can't even spell Iskander missile, you know you're getting desperate. Also, BlackRock pulled its Ukraine recovery fund, probably because investing in a war zone doesn't scream solid return. France is stepping in with its own fund, which means if Ukraine survives this, they'll owe everyone except their own investors. Segment 3, Germany's Hezbollah problem. We banned it, we swear. Germany banned Hezbollah in 2020, but apparently forgot to hit save. Baden-Württemberg, which sounds like a medieval fantasy town but is actually a real state in Germany, now hosts 100 Hezbollah members, up from 75. This is growth you usually see on LinkedIn, not terror watch lists. Germany's intelligence agency flat out said they have a Shiite terrorism problem spiraling out of control, which feels like the sort of sentence that should trigger some follow-up actions. But instead of arresting anyone, the local government is basically just updating the PowerPoint. And just in case that wasn't concerning enough, one Danish guy was arrested for plotting attacks on Jewish communities in Berlin for Iran. Iran's got a whole murder internship program going on, and Germany is just shrugging like, we're working on it. Also, Hezbollah once stored ammonium nitrate in the region, but the governor didn't want to investigate it. This guy was more concerned about keeping things calm than, say, giant explosions. I'm not saying Germany has a problem, but if your anti-Semitism commissioner is attacking Jews, maybe your hiring process needs a second look. Segment 4. Britain bans activism, arrests cardboard signs. In the UK, the government has banned the activist group Palestine Action. And by banned, I mean they made it illegal to say you like them, like literally illegal. Holding a cardboard sign that says, I oppose genocide, that's now a criminal offense. Somewhere, George Orwell is doing backflips in his grave. More than 25 people were arrested on July 5th for showing support, including a priest and some healthcare workers. Nothing says national security threat like someone in a white coat holding cardboard. The group had caused about $9.5 million in damage during a break-in at an Air Force base, which sounds bad until you realize the UK's response was to criminalize T-shirts. The Terrorism Act is now a fashion police tool. Amnesty International called this a misuse of anti-terrorism laws, which is like calling a shark attack a minor inconvenience. The UK is trying to prevent graffiti with legislation built for hostage situations. What's next? Arresting Banksy? Segment 5. Trump's big, beautiful bill, now with extra inequality. President Trump just signed the big, beautiful bill into law. Because nothing says Independence Day like kicking millions off health care. The bill slashes Medicaid, guts food stamps, and, plot twist, still manages to add $3.3 trillion to the deficit. It's like buying a yacht by pawning grandma's insulin and then bragging about how much debt you're in. The bill includes $4.5 trillion in permanent tax breaks, and yes, most of that goes to the rich. There's a $6,000 deduction for older adults. Great, unless you're poor, in which case you get a nice view of the deduction from outside the club. Also on the menu, $46 billion for the border wall, $45 billion for migrant detention, and 10,000 new ICE officers. That's enough ICE agents to start their own dystopian boy band. And it all comes with a bonus program: deport 1 million people a year. Because nothing screams freedom like taxpayer-funded deportation quotas. Even Elon Musk hates the bill. That's how you know it's bad. Musk called it debt slavery, which is rich coming from a guy who once wanted to colonize Mars with unpaid interns. And yes, Democrats tried to stop it. Hakeem Jeffries delivered a record-breaking speech about all the people this would hurt. Republicans responded by voting for it anyway. It's like giving a TED Talk to a pack of wolves. Segment 6. Free America protests, now with more fireworks. Following the bill's passage, Americans took to the streets in Free America protests because what better way to celebrate the 4th of July than by protesting the guy who wants to build walls with your healthcare money? These protests followed No King's Day back in June, where over 5 million people hit the streets. At this point, Americans are protesting so frequently, you'd think marching was a new Olympic sport. This round focused on everything from mass ICE raids to deep service cuts to Trump's not-so-subtle monarch complex. The only thing more bloated than this bill is the military parade Trump threw for himself on his birthday. Spoiler alert, no one came. Even veterans joined in. Former Marines and Army vets were out in force, carrying signs and barbecue skewers. Because nothing says "don't tread on me" like grilled bratwurst and constitutional panic. Segment 7. Elon Musk forms the America Party, breaks the internet and reality. Fresh off denouncing Trump's economic policies, Elon Musk announced his new political project, the America Party. Because nothing unites a divided country like a billionaire launching a new party over Twitter beef. Musk says he wants to give you back your freedom, which is what every billionaire says right before they try to sell you a subscription service for it. He ran a poll on X where 65% of 1.2 million users said they want a new party. And in true Musk fashion, he treated that poll like a constitutional amendment. Is he running for office? He hinted at 2026, which again would be illegal because he was born in South Africa. But if Trump can sell NFTs of himself as a cowboy astronaut, anything's possible. This could split the conservative vote, which is great if you like political chaos. Also, Trump threatened to cut federal funding to Musk's companies. It's the world's weirdest breakup: love, betrayal, and rockets. Segment 8, BRICS Summit. The 17th BRICS Summit kicked off in Brazil, and the theme this year is strengthening Global South cooperation, which is a polite way of saying, let's build our own club since the West keeps hogging the swing set. Indonesia joined BRICS this year and showed up like the new kid at the Model UN, eager, earnest, and immediately overbooked with panel discussions on AI, climate change, and economic justice. But here's the twist: China's Xi Jinping and Russia's Putin didn't show up. Xi had a scheduling conflict, which probably translates to don't want to talk about Taiwan in front of 30 other leaders. Putin dialed in via video because Brazil is an ICC member and arresting him would have really killed the buffet vibe. So who's in the spotlight? Narendra Modi, who's suddenly gone from guy with funky beard to de facto voice of BRICS. He's got the mic, the mandate, and the world's largest WhatsApp group at his fingertips. The summit promises to focus on 6 priorities: global health, finance, AI governance, climate, peace, and institutional development. Or as the G7 calls it, things will vaguely promise to address by 2040. Segment 9, fusion power and quantum phones. China's got that glow up. Let's pivot to Hefei, China, apparently the Silicon Valley of Tomorrowland. On one side of the city, the East Reactor, aka the artificial sun, just broke the world record for plasma confinement. That's 1,066 seconds of superheated gas doing the nuclear cha-cha. You know, just 18 minutes of pretending we've figured out how to power the Earth without burning it. Next to East, engineers are building BEST, a fusion reactor designed to actually generate electricity. Because right now, fusion is kind of like your CrossFit friend. Very exciting, but no practical results. Down the road, Quantum Avenue, where China Telecom is already selling phones with quantum encryption. That's right, you can now make a phone call that collapses if someone eavesdrops. Great for privacy, terrible for butt dials. U.S. export bans haven't slowed this down. If anything, they've turned China into the MacGyver of high-tech innovation. Can't buy it? Build it out of chopsticks and quantum magic. If you're wondering where the 21st century is being built, it's probably somewhere in Hefei between a plasma scanner and a noodle shop. Segment 10, Texas floods. Nature goes full apocalypse mode. In Texas, the Hill Country floods have turned a postcard into a horror movie. At least 50 people are dead, including 15 children, and dozens more are missing. A summer camp was hit so hard, the main road washed away and Wi-Fi went out. And in 2025, that's basically the apocalypse. The Guadalupe River rose 26 feet in 45 minutes, which is not a flood, that's a biblical speed run. Officials admitted the area has no proper warning system. Let me repeat that. Texas, home to massive ranches, oil billionaires, and at least 4 cities that think they're the next Austin, doesn't have a warning system in Flash Flood Alley. It's like building a volcano museum on a volcano and saying, well, who could have guessed? Governor Abbott declared an emergency. Senator Ted Cruz, who I assume still has Cancun bookmarked in his GPS, assured the state that Trump committed anything Texas needs, except a climate policy. The heartbreaking detail? This isn't just a flood. This is what happens when decades of climate neglect meet real people. Kids clinging to trees, grandparents swept away. And all of it could have been less deadly if someone had listened to scientists instead of campaign donors. Segment 11, California's Madre fire. It's not even August yet. Meanwhile, California is on fire. Again. The Madre fire is the largest wildfire of 2025, and it's only July. The flames have already torched over 79,000 acres. That's more land than Elon Musk has tried to turn into a hyperloop. Only 10% of the fire is contained, which in California means break out the hazmat suits and charge the electric leaf blowers. The smoke is drifting all the way from San Luis Obispo to the Channel Islands. Air quality? Let's just say if you're breathing in Los Angeles, you're technically vaping. This fire is bigger than the Palisades fire, which killed 12 people in January. Bigger than the Eaton fire, which took 18 lives. At this point, California's wildfire season starts in February and ends in the next climate agreement that gets ignored. Officials say it might have been fireworks. So yes, happy 4th of July. Nothing more American than celebrating independence by setting your state on fire. Segment 12, Tropical Storm Shantel. Moisture, mischief, and mild panic. Tropical Storm Shantel has formed just off the Carolina coast, and while it's not a Category 5, it's definitely a Category inconvenient. Winds hit 60 miles per hour, rain bands are rolling in, and residents are being told, don't drive through floodwater, and yes, you've heard this every summer since you were born. Landfall is expected Sunday with 2 to 6 inches of rain and the potential for, you guessed it, flash floods. Just as we were digesting Texas's inland tsunami, the East Coast is getting its own aquatic anxiety. Storm surge could hit 3 feet. Isolated tornadoes on the menu. Emergency alerts going off while people are still trying to grill their 4th of July leftovers. The lesson here, just because a storm isn't major doesn't mean it can't wreck your weekend and your porch furniture. And while Shantel sounds like a real housewife of Myrtle Beach, she's got a mean left hook. Segment 13, Women's Health, where science forgot half the population. Let's talk women's health, or more specifically, how medicine decided women were just anxious men with complicated plumbing. For over a century, women experiencing cardiac symptoms were told it was hysteria or pseudo-angina, which sounds like a fake pasta dish. Even now, women presenting with chest pain are more likely to get anxiety meds than an actual EKG. And clinical trials, historically done on men. Why? Because female hormones are too complicated. Great. So the human race is built on cycles science finds inconvenient. Cool. Even mice get in on the bias. Most neurological and cardiac studies are still done on male mice because female mice are deemed unreliable. That's right. Even our research rodents are misogynistic. It's not just drugs, diagnostics are flawed too. Angiograms, they often miss female-specific heart attack signs. And stroke trials, heavily male. It's like trying to read women's health with a decoder ring made for 1950s sitcoms. And the disparities hit harder for women of color who get misdiagnosed more, treated later, and funded less. So if you're a black woman with chest pain, the medical advice is good luck and here's some yoga. Ladies, the system isn't just biased, it's borderline dangerous. And if you want proof, just look at the drug reactions. Women experience nearly double the adverse effects compared to men on the same meds. That's not health care, that's a clinical shrug. Segment 14, Japan's earthquake prophecy, disaster by manga. On July 5th, a manga artist named Ryo Tatsuki caused a nationwide panic in Japan. Not with ink, but with the prophecy. Her book predicted a catastrophic earthquake and tsunami on this exact day. And since she accurately predicted the 2011 quake, people took her word like it was gospel. Cue social media meltdown. People canceled vacations, fled the coastline, and some airlines cut flights to Japan by 30%. The mayor of Miyagi literally had to tell people to stop believing dreams with bubbles in them. Even China got involved, warning their tourists to be earthquake aware, which is like telling someone to bring a helmet to a coin toss. The Japanese government tried to calm things down, saying there's no scientific method to predict the exact date and time of an earthquake. But when science and TikTok collide, guess who wins? The economic impact? Potentially $3.9 billion in lost tourism. All because a prophetic artist dreamed about boiling water and everyone lost their collective minds. If this is what social media can do with one manga, imagine what it could do with a slightly suspicious weather balloon. Segment 15, Britain's renewable energy crisis, windmills without wires. Great Britain has a renewable energy problem. Not with generating clean energy, they're actually doing that pretty well. The issue, they have nowhere to put it. Thanks to grid bottlenecks, they're paying £180,000 an hour to turn off wind farms. That's not a typo. That's your energy bill funding a very expensive off switch. They've already shelled out £252 million in the first 2 months of 2025 just to not use wind energy. That's like buying an electric car, charging it for 8 hours, and then walking to work out of spite. Critics blame the outdated pricing system where electricity costs the same across the country, even if it's coming from a turbine next door. Meanwhile, some wind farms are charging for reduced output, even when they aren't losing income. You know, just taking a little extra gratitude bonus. Consumers are being overcharged by £338 million due to these market quirks. That's right. You're paying for wind energy you never received while your local turbine gets a check for chilling. The UK says it plans to rewire Britain. Translation, brace for pylons, lawsuits, and a lot of angry sheep. Segment 16, Vietnam's economy. A trade deal and a tariff tango. Vietnam's economy just hit 7.52% growth, its fastest surge in over a decade, which is wild because the rest of the world is stuck in an economic hangover while Vietnam is out here doing backflips off a cargo ship. This boom comes courtesy of a shiny new U.S. trade deal. Tariffs are capped at 20%, a huge win considering Trump originally threatened 46%. And now U.S. goods can enter Vietnam tariff-free, so enjoy your Bud Light with pho. But there's a catch. Any goods transshipped through Vietnam, basically Chinese products wearing a fake mustache, get hit with a 40% tariff. And no one really knows which products count, which is great for business planning if your business is gambling. Trump called it a great deal of cooperation, which is ironic because most of the cooperation is just companies saying, please don't crush our supply chains. The good news? Vietnam may upgrade from low-margin exports to high-value semiconductors. The bad news? We still don't know how this game of tariff hopscotch ends. But hey, at least someone's winning the globalization lottery this quarter. Segment 17, NYC Congestion Pricing. Less traffic, more Broadway, fewer honks. Meanwhile, in the Big Apple, congestion pricing just got its 6-month report card. And it's crushing it. Fewer cars, cleaner air, shorter commutes. And most importantly, 45% fewer noise complaints about honking. Since January, 67,000 fewer vehicles enter Lower Manhattan daily. Traffic delays are down by a quarter, and travel times in the Holland Tunnel are down 65%. Meaning we've achieved the impossible. Faster commutes without selling our souls to Uber. Transit ridership? Through the roof. Subway use is up 7%, bus ridership up 12%, and Access a Ride up 21%. And it turns out when your train isn't on fire and your station has elevators, people like public transit. And the economy? Also up. Hotel occupancy is at 87%. Broadway's raking in $1.9 billion, and retail sales are booming. It's almost like people want to shop and see shows when they're not trapped in traffic purgatory. The program is expected to raise $500 million this year, which the MTA will use to modernize infrastructure, including new trains, better signals, and phase 2 of the 2nd Avenue subway. And despite Trump trying to kill the program with legal threats, New York pulled a classic move, ignored him, and kept walking. Lesson learned: if you want people to take the bus, make it faster than sitting in gridlock rage. Also, maybe don't let the guy whose idea of infrastructure is a big golden wall tell cities how to function. So, to recap, Gaza is simultaneously bombing and peace talking. Russia is trying to win with drone spam while Putin phones it in. Literally. Germany's pretending Hezbollah doesn't exist. Britain is criminalizing cardboard. Trump passed a bill that's both wildly expensive and morally bankrupt. Elon Musk started a new political party because Twitter told him to. Fusion power is real, quantum phones are here, and meanwhile, Texas forgot how flooding works. Women are still treated like science's second draft. Japan is panicking over dream-based seismology. The UK is paying to shut off its own wind turbines. Vietnam is thriving. New York is thriving. And the rest of us, we're just trying to survive another week where the news sounds like a rejected Black Mirror script. That's it for Klepper's Corner, July 5th, 2025. Remember, it's not the end of the world, but it might be the pilot episode. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and if Elon asks for your vote, maybe check his birth certificate first. Good night, and may your cardboard signs never be considered terrorism.